Today's lesson focuses on the area of some of our polygons, specifically the parallelogram, the triangle, and the trapezoid. So when we are looking at area, we need two specific measurements. The first is the base. So we can pick the base as any side of the parallelogram, and using what we pick as the base, then we can find the height. The height has to be perpendicular to the base, meaning that they have to form a 90-degree angle. So our base and our height must have a 90-degree angle in between them. As we know, the area formula for a parallelogram is the area is equal to the base times the height. So, for example, if we look at the figure on the left, they give us a measurement of 6 miles for the base and 3 miles for the height. Again, notice that there is a right angle in between them. If it gave us 4 miles over here, for example, we could not use that as the height because it does not form a right angle with the base. So it has to have the right angle in between the two. So we have our area is equal to the base times the height, giving us area is equal to 18 miles squared. Remember that when you are doing area, your unit is squared because you are taking miles and multiplying by miles. So you have two sets of measurement. If we move over to the figure on the right, again, notice that between the two measurements they give us is a right angle. If it gave us 9 meters on the inside, we again could not use that for the height because it does not form a 90-degree angle with our base measurements. So to find the area of this parallelogram, we take the area is equal to 10.3 times 9.7, which gives us an area of 99.91 meters squared. If you are doing your homework and you have to round, make sure you are rounding to the nearest hundredth, so the 2 decimal places. The area of a triangle is based on the area of a parallelogram. So if we take our parallelogram and cut it in half from corner to corner, we form 2 congruent triangles. So we've split our parallelogram into half into equal pieces. So if we're looking at the area of this parallelogram, we would take the base and multiply by the height. Again, the height has to form a 90-degree angle with the base. If I split it into 2 triangles, I still have the base, the same measurement up top, and I would still have the same height from top to bottom. So based on the parallelogram formula, if I take the base times the height, and I divide by 2 or cut it in half, I have the area formula for a triangle. So I can take the area of a triangle by doing the base times the height divided by 2. So looking at our 2 triangles that we have here, we have our first triangle on the left, which has a base of 5 1/3 foot and a height of 3 feet. Again, notice they acknowledge that it has a right angle between those 2 measurements. So we would say our area is equal to 5 1/3 times 3 divided by 2. I forgot to acknowledge this in the parallelogram section, but yes, you do need to be writing out these formulas and showing your work. So you do need to write down this piece of information before you plug it into the calculator. So we have 5 1/3 times 3, which gives us 16 divided by 2, giving us an area of 8 feet squared. Again, area always has square units. So the two things that you would have to write down on your homework are the initial formula and the final answer. If you want to write down this intermediate step, you can, but you do not have to. Coming over to the triangle on the left, we have the height parallel to the base. So area is equal to the base times the height divided by 2. Area is 20 divided by 2, giving us 10 centimeters squared. So our area for the second triangle is 10 centimeters squared. Just like the triangle formula comes from the parallelogram formula, so does the trapezoid formula. Notice again, I start with my parallelogram and I can cut it into 2 equal trapezoids. So I can cut it into 2 equal trapezoids. Once I split this up, I have taken the base of my parallelogram, and the base has gotten split up between 2 separate pieces. So it's gotten split. We're just going to call the pieces base 1 and base 2. Notice up top, I still have the same base, and when I split that up, it splits up into base 2 and base 1. This piece is congruent to this top piece, and this shorter piece is congruent to the shorter piece. So we have our 2 different bases on our trapezoids. Those are the 2 parallel sides. And then again, we would have a height running in between them, with the height being perpendicular or forming a right angle with the base. So if we're going to use the parallelogram formula, the entire base would be adding up our 2 bases. So I would have to take the base 1 plus base 2. Again, if I were to separate these out, if I were to move that parallelogram, or excuse me, that trapezoid away, we would have just base 1 and base 2 as the bases of our trapezoid. That is the entire base of the parallelogram. So we would then multiply by the height of the parallelogram, which is h. And then again, similar to the triangle, in order to get the trapezoid, we have to cut the parallelogram in half. So to finish our formula, we have to divide by 2. So we take the base plus the base times the height and divide by 2. That is the area formula for a trapezoid. So if we look at the first example up top, it gives us 3 different measurements. The first thing we need to do is make sure we find the 2 bases, which are the parallel sides. It does not matter which one you label base 1 and base 2, as long as you acknowledge that they are 2 different measurements. Again, just like with the triangle and the parallelogram, you need to show your work for your initial formula. So the area is base 1 of 206 plus base 2, which is 478. You are going to multiply that by the height, which is 318, and divide by 2. Again, you can show these middle steps, but you do not have to. You have to have the initial formula and the final answer. So the first thing you would do is add up 206 and 478, giving you 684 times 318 divided by 2. When we multiply the top, we get 217,512 divided by 2 gives us a final area of 108,756 miles squared. So again, our units are squared because we are looking at area. They may not always give you the picture, so the word problem down below, we have the height is 12.4 centimeters, and the two bases of 10.5 and 7 centimeters. So we write down our initial formula. We take our base of 10.5, add 7, multiply by the height of 12.4, and divide by 2. Adding up, we have 17.5 times 12.4 divided by 2. You would plug that into your calculator and get 217 divided by 2, giving us a final area of 108.5 centimeters squared. When you are done with your notes, bring them up to the desk to be checked and to get your homework assignment.